What's up everybody, Couch Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Halo Infinite video, and y'all have been waiting for this for quite some time. This is the Halo Infinite ranked weapon tier list. Now, we're going to be ranking the weapons from the top best weapons you could be grabbing to some of the weapons that you might want to leave on the wall, and talk about the pros and cons of each one, because some of them are catch-all, some of them are situational, some of them are very powerful but very rare, and we got to break it all down so you know exactly what weapons you should be utilizing. But please smash that like and subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any news, guides, and lore that we have on this channel. We're going to be pumping out tons and tons more content, so make sure you smash that subscribe right now. But without further ado, let's jump into it. Now, a little caveat, this is based on a high level of play, pro play plus Onyx rank, high ranked play. This is not big team battle. This is not casual ranked. I'm talking about the most competitive use cases for these guns, and I'm also putting in my own personal experiences. So if you disagree, please let me know in the comments down below. Now, we do got to start off with the BR. The BR has a lot going for it. Of course, it's the weapon that we all use, we all start with. But the BR is very powerful for one very important reason. It is very consistent for basically any range. As long as their shield is broken, you can confirm that kill. On top of that, it's effective from close and mid ranges, and only at the max ranges does it suffer slightly. So the battle rifle is going to obviously be S tier. Very powerful. You got to master this gun. It's going to be used in every single one of your games, and it is very important to master. Now, the next weapon that we got to talk about is the Sentry Beam. I like to call it Zarya's Beam from Overwatch, but this weapon is interesting, right? I do think that this weapon is actually very powerful. I mean, it has a really fast time to kill. It's just a little awkward, the use cases for it, when you're talking about a certain level of pro or ranked play. Because a lot of times, people are holding angles, people are playing pretty passive, they're keeping each other in check with long-range fire, and if you want to kill someone with this, someone often has to be out of position for you to get a lot of value with it. Now, I'm not saying the weapon's bad by any means. I actually think it's really good. I just don't necessarily know the cases where you can chase someone with this weapon or catch someone with this weapon because of its close effective range, and it's a little bit awkward. I will say that. I do think it's really powerful though, and I will probably put it in the B tier. I think it's going to be a lot better against bad opponents, and it could be pretty bad against really good opponents where you're probably not going to get more than one kill maximum. Probably only one kill, honestly. Now, the next weapon that we got to talk about is the Heatwave. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do on the Heatwave is make sure that you set that to the vertical firing mode, because it's going to line up with the enemy's body. You're going to shoot it at them from mid to close range, and you can either shoot it a second time and just kill them outright, or you could just run up and melee them after you shot them once. It's very versatile in that way, and I actually think it's really powerful and even underrated. I would actually put it in the B tier with the Sentry Beam, but I would put it quite a bit above the Sentry Beam. I'd probably put the Beam in the lower B tier and this in the much upper B tier. Maybe this even deserves A tier. Definitely let me know what you think, but I think this gun is very, very freaking powerful and definitely is a great secondary weapon to have in addition to your BR. Now, the next weapon that we got to talk about is the Mangler. Now, I know I called this the Mauler in the last freaking video, the weapons video, but it's the Mangler, and this weapon is freaking nuts. Not only can this melee just do more damage than your traditional melee, but you have the combo of being able to shoot someone once in the body melee and just kill them outright, which makes this a really powerful contrast to the BR, where you can fight from those mid, sometimes close-ish ranges, but if people get too close to you, you can use this to get a sneaky kill. You can hold somewhere crouched, waiting for an enemy to push through and get a free kill on them, especially if they're alone. Absolutely free, and you might be able to grenade plus challenge the next person with your BR and even win that duel and win a 1v2. So it's really awesome. It's really powerful. I honestly think that this weapon is one of the best secondaries in the entire game, and I'm tempted to put it in the S tier. It's between A and S, but I'm going to put it in the A tier for now. We might move it as this tier list goes on. Hey, really quickly, these last 4 weapons are not going to be included in the tier list because they're not in ranked play, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you already knew that. Next up, we do got to talk about the plasma pistol. The plasma pistol is an amazing secondary because not only can you get a full charge shot off and break the overshield, which is one of the most important things to contest in general, but the fact that this weapon allows you to charge it up, peek an angle, shoot it, and if you hit, you can flip your BR and headshot them and just finish them off. And if you miss, you can jiggle back, charge up another one. If they push you, you can still blast them again, and oftentimes you're going to get multiple chances to fish. It's what I like to call fishing for a kill. I honestly love this as a secondary. It's really, really strong. You don't have to worry about running out of ammo. You can just walk around with it charged in certain situations, because if it runs out of ammo, so what? You just find a different weapon, no big deal. I really do think that this is probably one of the only sidearms that kind of fills a really, really powerful role like the Mangler. I really do think that this is one of the most powerful sidearms, and I think I'm going to put it in the same tier as the Mangler. Really strong. It's strong in a different way, right? It's not as good at that close ranges. You could still, sure, charge it up and actually blast someone to melee them, but the Mangler can do that instantly, and it has a higher damage on the melee. But the fact that you can hit someone in the mid-range with this weapon, break their shields, flip out the BR, headshot them, that's just really freaking strong. And I think I'm going to put it in the A tier because of that. Next up, we do got to talk about the assault rifle. Now, a lot of people are going to love this gun, and I think a lot of people overestimate the power level of this gun. Sure, it can be a really great gun for chasing people and shooting them and trying to break their shields, and it's okay in that capacity, but the problem is the BR is way too flexible in the mid to close ranges for the assault rifle to ever see a lot of play. I mean, if you're going to see it, you might grab it, but there's a lot of weapons that you would much rather have rather than the assault rifle to complement your BR. And on top of that, the assault rifle can't one-shot in the head like basically every single other bullet-based weapon. It's going to take a couple of shots, I think it's 3 shots, in order to kill someone after their shield's cracked, even if you hit them in the head. I think that the assault rifle is fine depending on the situation, but it's basically a worse Sentry Beam in almost every way. And I want to almost put it in the D tier. I know a lot of you will get mad if I do that, but I'm probably going to put it in the C tier. I might bring it down if I'm being honest. It might actually deserve the D tier. I'm going to put it in the D tier. No, I'll put it in the C tier. Okay, I don't want to get too much flame in the comments. I mean, I can't see the dislike bar, so who really cares? I'm kidding. Okay, next up, we got to talk about the Commando. Now, I've already talked extensively about the Commando before, how it's basically a worse BR in almost every way. Sure, it's a little bit more effective at long ranges, but ultimately, the BR is going to be a better kill confirmer, and it's going to be pretty easy to get descoped when you're using the Commando up against BR. Not only that, but the Commando has bloom, and it has recoil. It's hard to control. I do think that the only great use case in comparison to the BR is if enemies are playing in a way where they are really controlling their hitbox, and this happens a lot, specifically on the map Bazaar, where they'll only peek out a little bit of their head, right? And the BR often is not going to be able to hit the entire burst in them, especially if you keep getting descoped over and over again. But the Commando, if you have good aim, you'll probably be able to connect with those shots. So I think in that specific situation, the Commando's not bad. But in most other situations, the BR is just superior, and I would never want to have the BR plus the Commando as my 2 weapons. That doesn't really provide me any strength in my weakened category, and I do think because of that, this weapon also deserves the C tier. I'm also, I think it's better than the assault rifle, so I'm going to put it in the C tier. Now, next up, we got to talk about the sniper rifle. Now, the sniper rifle, it's absolutely trash. I mean, it doesn't even one-shot in the body. No. All right, the sniper rifle is S tier. It's obviously S tier. Body shotting, no scoping, switching to your BR and headshotting, shooting from long ranges, especially if enemies don't see you, you can one-tap them. The sniper rifle is one of the most powerful guns in the game. It has the capability of completely swinging entire games around it if you're accurate with it. You can win 1v2s, you can win 1v3s with the gun if you're very good with it, and it is just amazing. And not only that, unlike a weapon like the rocket launcher is very good, by the way, the Spanker, but it only has 2 shots, right? You maybe could get, 2-3 kills with that gun. Well, the sniper can carry many team fights, potentially. If you have the skill to back it up, you could carry 3-4 team fights. The sniper is like probably triple S tier. Basically one of the most powerful carry weapons in the entire game. And yeah, if you're a great sniper, get that sniper rifle, fight for that sniper rifle, carry with the sniper rifle. Now, the next weapon we got to talk about is the Disruptor, where I talked about it in one of my previous videos, and I got flamed a lot. People really love this weapon. They think it's very good for crowd control, and they didn't like how I said that the gun wasn't very viable. And after reading a lot of these comments, I went and I tested the gun a lot more myself. I tried to utilize it in ranked matches, and honestly, I found some pretty interesting use cases for it, especially in oddball when people like to camp often in like close areas. The fact that you can hit someone with this and it does AoE damage to all the people nearby, I actually really liked it, and I thought that if enemies grouped up in that way, it's actually pretty decent. Overall, I think its time to kill is a little too weak in the nature of very competitive Slayer, if the enemies are spread out, which they often are, holding angles with BRs and mid-range weapons, the Disruptor doesn't really have a place. You're almost never going to be able to get multiple stickies in an enemy before they unjiggle, and it's not that great the higher in rank you go. And that's kind of what I was talking about before. I don't think in Slayer or a lot of the open areas or maps that have sporadic engagements, it's not going to be that great. Like Capture the Flag, I don't think it's going to be that great, but Oddball, when enemies are stacked, or even Stronghold, where enemies are stacked, I definitely think you can get some use out of this, and the more you can get value out of its chain, the better off you'll probably be. I still don't think it's better than anything like the Mauler or the Plasma Pistol or anything like that, but I do think it's pretty decent. I would probably put it in the C tier, and it almost makes me feel like I should put this down in the D tier. Okay, can we agree on that? I hope we can. We probably can. Okay, well, I'm just gonna, maybe it's like this instead, or maybe it's like that. No. Okay, this is at the top of C tier. I'm not gonna put this in the same tier as these two weapons. It's not as good as these two weapons. I'm just not. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Next up, let's talk about the Needler. And this is another controversial one. The Needler's not very good in high-ranked play, in pro play as well. The reason that the Needler is not good is because you need to fight someone in open space in order to get enough needles on them to kill them. And oftentimes, if you do, if they're good and they hit you with a grenade or someone's nearby, they're going to be able to trade out with you. Like, you're never going to be able to get two people with the Needler, almost ever. And oftentimes, they're going to be able to trade with you, right? So you're going to kill one person and die almost always, or not kill one person at all. If they have natural cover, they can jiggle out of the needles, and then they're perfectly fine. I don't think that the Needler really works when people are playing posted up positions, applying pressure in open space, trying to find incremental advantage in clearing like lines of sight. The Needler doesn't really work that well, if I'm being honest. The Needler is going to be always inferior to like all of these guns, and I would rather have an assault rifle most of the time over the Needler. Now, that doesn't mean that the Needler isn't a fantastic weapon to use. It doesn't mean that the Needler isn't good if you're up against bad enemies. I just know that when you climb higher, you're going to go up against enemies where the Needler's not going to be a really great weapon up against them. And it's only a weapon that can punish people who already are making a mistake. Traveling in open space, not playing around natural cover, the Needler just doesn't really cut it. And I'm probably going to put it in C tier. This C tier is probably going to be fat. I know that if I put anything in this tier, people are going to lose their freaking minds. But honestly, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I think the Disruptor is better, though, than that.
2 hours later.
There's no F tier. Maybe I do this. No, maybe like that. Because this is like kind of worse than this. I did say that this had a good use case.
7 hours later.
I don't know. Definitely, this is a little bit hard to bounce. Maybe this goes, I don't think that this goes up there. I think this is probably fine for now. Imagine there's an F tier down here and nothing's in it so far. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the Bulldog. A lot of people hate the Bulldog, okay? They think about the good old days where the shoddy could one-tap enemies. You could counter the freaking energy sword with it. Wait, where the hell is the energy sword? There's no goddamn energy sword in this tier.
2,000 years later.
Can we say that this is an energy sword? Okay, Bash, you gotta make this an energy sword. I'm gonna swing it around. I want you to, this is an energy sword, by the way. Yeah, it's an energy sword. Okay, this is an energy sword. By the way, energy sword's gonna be an A tier. I thought I would make that clear. The energy sword's an A tier because it can warp entire fights around it. It's really good if you have an ejected to play around. It's really good to punish enemies for pushing in. And it can sometimes get even 2 kills, even when you're facing enemies directly, because they're not clean enough with trading out with you. They're not capable of busting your shields and getting that headshot. That being said, if enemies are appropriately playing around an energy sword, it's not going to be that crazy weapon that you just get to run around with and kill everyone with. That's not going to work unless there's a reason for them to push into you. And I don't necessarily think it's to the power level of a weapon like the sniper rifle. That being said, the energy sword is still very strong. It's very good, and I think it's something that's worth contesting. It's probably at the top of A. That's what I would put it at. The top of A, maybe the bottom of S. Very powerful, very strong. You got to understand that power weapons, I'm comparing a lot of the power weapons to each other. I'm not necessarily comparing the power weapons to an average weapon. That's why the BR could be in the S tier with the sniper rifle. It's not like the BR is stronger or just as strong as the sniper rifle. The place that they hold in like being able to grab them consistently, that's their power level relative to that, not their power level relative to other weapons. I think you understand my point. Now, next up, let's talk about this Bulldog. I'm going back. I'm kind of going all over the place. This is an energy sword. This is a Bulldog. Yes, yes. Okay, so, god damn, this is this is a mess. Okay, so next up, let's talk about this Bulldog. So, a lot of people don't like the Bulldog, but the Bulldog is actually exceptional. The Bulldog is very, very freaking strong. And the biggest reason that it's super strong is because it has a pretty effective mid-range, and it's a weapon that has a fast rate of fire with a large mag. This means that you can jiggle a corner, basically just peek out a corner very temporarily, hit someone right in the body, and then leave that corner or even thrust back. And what you did there is an enemy maybe got one BR shot off on you, and you hit them for enough for a melee to kill them or enough for another shot to kill them. Now, them only doing one BR shot to you means that you are almost full health. You can re-engage. You can even whip out your BR, take a regular engagement with them and win that. You can just swing back out and shoot them with the shotgun and finish them off. The shotgun allows you to dominate any close range engagement, and if you're near natural cover, enemies cannot step up to you. They just can't. They will lose. And if you have thruster, you're even more unstoppable. This weapon is so freaking powerful, especially when you're playing around an objective, something like oddball. A shotgun user can guard that oddball user very, very well. If you have thruster, you could even 1v2. It's so freaking good. I know that a lot of you want the old shotgun back, right? I know that you think that that is the standard for what a shotgun should be. But I'm gonna be honest, if that shotgun was in this game, I think it would be too powerful. I think that this shotgun is just right where it should be. I'm gonna put it at the top A tier. Really strong, really powerful, especially if you compare it with thrust, and it kind of stirs up some of the weaknesses of the battle rifle. And if you could play around an objective, you get a lot of free value. So real quickly, I moved some things around. I want to put these in order from strongest to weakest. I'm putting them like this. So this is energy sword, which I would put here. Mangler, this. Yeah, this is the order that I put things in. And this is the Stalker Rifle. And I'm actually going to put the Stalker Rifle right here. So I actually underrated the Stalker Rifle in one of my previous videos. I think that the weapon is strong because of its range, and it actually fights at a range outside of the BR's effective range, because the BR is not very effective at the longest ranges, especially on streets. Streets doesn't have a sniper rifle besides it. So if you have really long sight lines, it's not like you're going to get killed by the shock rifle. It's not like you're going to get killed by the regular sniper rifle. You're going to be able to outrange everything and poke things down. Now, you still need someone nearby to potentially trade up on the value that you're getting. So it's something that you can use to pressure enemies, but you got to take those very long sight lines, and you have to have some sort of coordination. If you can call out that you tagged people, call out that you damaged people, have someone nearby, have someone in an off angle to finish them off, it could be great because you just outrange everybody. But if you're just a solo player, it's going to be hard to confirm those kills. They're going to take a couple of hits, they're going to run away, they're going to hide, and you're so far away because that's where you want to be to play to the strengths of the weapon that you're not going to be able to get that trade out. So it's better to have communication, or you can maybe talk in comms to see if people work with you. So in that scenario, I think it's a lot stronger, but it depends. Next up, we do got to talk about the sidearm. I think the sidearm is actually very good. I'm going to put the sidearm in the B tier. Sidearm actually kills just body shots, 4 shots if the shields are broken. It one-taps in the head if their shields are broken. It's a really good complement to the battle rifle to help you confirm kills, especially if you run out of ammo and you're trying to clutch up like a 1v2 or something like that. I do think that you can spam this as well to just output a lot of damage. You can just rapid fire spam it. Now remember, it does have bloom, so it's not the most accurate weapon in the world if you do spam it. But if you're aiming center mass from pretty close ranges, you can definitely just finish people off. I do think that some people tend to overrate this gun a little bit. I don't think that it fills the weaknesses that you can have in your setup, like the Mangler, like the plasma pistol does, but it's still very strong as like basically a nerfed BR effect, but more overall ammo that is faster than reloading, right? That's kind of how I think of it. I think it's pretty good overall. Next up, we got to talk about the Spanker, baby. The Spanker. And this gun is going to be S tier. I know what you're saying. You're saying, hey, it only has 2 bullets. Hey, it's super rare. How are you going to put in the S tier? Well, a lot of team fights are going to be completely decided by this gun. It is so powerful that realistically, in any objective-based mode on like streets, for instance, you should be contesting the rocket launcher before anything else. If you go for the objective and you let the enemies have the rocket launcher uncontested, they're going to use it to get 2 picks on you and take the objective right away. That's all that's going to happen. Even worse than that, they probably are going to use it to take the objective, take the shotgun. Now they're going to have shotgun on the objective. It's just a mess. Like, you really need to contest this weapon. You either need to play to punish the person that grabs it, play to trade out with it, or just play for it altogether. It's so powerful that you just have to. It's just that good. And I really like that aspect because it just forces an engagement in the center of the map, and it's really fun. So the next weapon that we got to talk about is the Pulse Carbine. And a lot of you in the last video said I got this gun completely wrong, and you know what? You were right. After watching a video by Ascend Hyperion, which his links are going to be down below because he's a really great Halo creator, and just testing the weapon in general, I do think that this weapon is a lot stronger than I gave it credit for. It is actually pretty strong, and it's not a weapon that you should be using at close ranges. You should be using it at mid to longer ranges so that you get the tracking of the orbs, and it's a lot harder for people to dodge them. Yes, it's very strong if you use it in that capacity. Now, do I think that this gun is like an all-star for pro play or ranked at high levels? No, I still don't. And I'm going to tell you why. While, yes, this is true that if people are out in open space, you can definitely kill them like that, right? You can definitely spray them down and kill them. There's a couple of problems with that. The first problem is the nature of how people fight, right? So how people are typically going to fight when you get to a certain rank, to a certain skill level, is people are going to be perched up in a certain amount of cover. It's going to be like a natural cover perch, and they're fighting for open space, and they're trying to take control by trading a little bit more effectively in damage. So they're poking with their BR, and they want immediate damage. They don't want damage that travels, because what happens is even if a damage has a little bit of travel, they're right just barely out of cover, right? They're poking, they're jiggle peek firing, they're not committing, right? And so what happens is enemies, if they see that the fire happened, they're just going to jiggle back out, and it's not going to kill them immediately. Now, that doesn't mean that this gun isn't great. I'm just saying in the nature of it, you're never going to choose it over a BR, right? And now you might be saying, hey, you're going to choose it with a BR. Well, that might be okay, but the problem is there's a lot of other weapons that you're leaving just on the table, specifically the Mangler or the plasma pistol, that in my opinion are very consistent, and they're very good at kind of covering some of your weaknesses. Now, I'm not saying that this gun won't see play, and I do think it will see play. I do actually think it's quite a bit stronger than some of these other options I have in the B tier. I just don't necessarily think that it's a gun that is like going to be an all-star, and it's going to be pretty situational to say the least. It depends on where you're holding. If you're holding some elevated position, if you have a need for some mid to longer range engagements, then it could be decent, and it's also decent in specific scenarios where enemies are forced to go into open space. So let's talk about like Stronghold. It's going to be a lot better on Stronghold than it is going to be Slayer, because oftentimes Slayer, people play a lot more passive. People play for control. People aren't going to leave their natural cover very easily. Pulse Rifle is not going to be as good as people having to fight in open space. Then it's going to be a lot better. So I do think that it's probably going to be about right here is where I'll put it. I think it's actually a lot better than I thought before. I thought it was a lot worse because I was just completely misevaluating the gun, but I do not think that it's an all-star. I'm not changing my mind on that, but definitely let me know if you disagree with me down below. What are your experiences in your ranked games? Now, the next one we got to talk about is the Shock Rifle. Now, this gun is freaking cracked, okay? It can one-shot headshot. It has a lot of ammo. If it hits an enemy, it's going to deal residual damage to people nearby, similar to the Disruptor, but not quite to that effect. And it can actually 3-shot in the body. Now, it's not going to be as good as the Sniper Rifle because it is a 3-shot to the body. So you can't really use this aggressively like you can with the Sniper Rifle. Like the Sniper Rifle, you can just mono-e-mono, 1v1 someone from mid-range, shoot them in the body, and shoot them in the head. They're not going to be able to kill you fast enough if you shoot them in the body, swap to the BR, shoot them in the head. With this, 3 shots, a BR user that is good is probably going to be able to kill you a tiny bit faster. Now, that doesn't mean you can't just hit them in the head, and that's why this gun is crazy strong, and I'm actually putting this gun all the way, oh, what the hell? At the top of A tier. Very, very freaking strong, but you gotta hit those headshots. It's gonna be a very skill-intensive weapon, and it actually is effective from further ranges than the BR is, especially when I'm talking about, you know, that poke battle where people are trying to fight for open space from really far away, tucked in the little high-end cubbies, you know, poking for damage output, whatever. The shock rifle can change that entire fight, because a BR user peeks out from the top, the high ground, whatever, and you just kill them instantly with the shock rifle, or even just firing it. They're not gonna peek again. They're scared now. So yeah, very strong gun, has a very high skill ceiling, and I like it a lot. And that is it. These 3 weapons are not in ranked. I mean, yeah, neither is this, but this is technically an energy sword. So this is kind of where I'm gonna put. The only question I have is whether or not this assault rifle should be a little bit higher. I'm not entirely sure. I think that 343 has done a pretty good job at balancing the ranked weapons. Like, almost all of these weapons, like, these might all be, like, I'm not gonna just stuff the B tier, but I don't necessarily think that the Needler is all that great. I think that there are situations where it could be okay. I think that the assault rifle, there are situations where it can be okay, but this is gonna be like a worse version of this, but it's a more common version of this. So it, you know, this is the tier list to kind of give you, just have you thinking about what weapons are really strong, what weapons are really meta, what weapons should you think about grabbing, or maybe think twice about grabbing. And I want to hear your own personal experiences. Have you had some really good games with the Needler, or some really good games with the assault rifle in high rank? I want to hear how that has gone for you. Have you been impressed with the Pulse Carbine? Have you been disappointed? What about the Sidekick? I want to hear. What about the shotgun? For me, the shotgun is insane. I love it. I think it's really, really strong. I mean, I think this is a good tier list so far. I think it's pretty decent. Yeah, let me know what you think down below, and do me a huge solid and smash that like and subscribe so that we can start growing to 20,000 subscribers. We just passed 10K. I want to double it in a month. So yeah, come on board and let us get there. But thank you so much for coming by. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I love your faces, and I'll see you next time.